Model Abigail White had a lot of fans on the internet. The girl has been making money on one of the popular sites for several years by publishing her candid photos. Abby did not hide from fans that she was happy in her relationship with her boyfriend. But behind the beautiful picture, there was a terrible reality that one day came out. This terrible story took place in 2022 in the southwest of Great Britain, in the city of Bristol. Bristol is a port city with a population of more than 400,000 people. It was in Bristol that Bradley Lewis was born in March 2000. He grew up in a complete loving family. His parents, Steve and Rachel Lewis, were kind, decent people who always put family first. Bradley grew up a good-natured and cheerful boy, and like many children in England, he was a real football fan from an early age. While at school, Bradley played in a local football club. The guy had many friends and acquaintances. As a teenager, he began attending parties. At age 14, Bradley met a girl named Abigail White. At that time, she was 15. When Bradley and Abby started talking, they soon realized that they fell in love with each other. They were both handsome young men, but their personalities were very different. Abby was not nearly as good-natured as Bradley, and part of this all had to do with her difficult childhood. When the girl was only 2 years old, her parents often began to quarrel, and their quarrels almost always ended in assault. 2 years later, when Abby turned 4, her parents divorced. The mother took her daughter to her place and soon found a new man. The stepfather turned out to be much worse than his own father. He caused physical pain not only to his mother, but also to Abby herself. Soon after this, the mother decided that it would be better if her daughter went to live with her grandparents. Abby was problematic. Teachers constantly scolded her for her bad behavior. She consistently received low grades and was expelled from school several times. It is known that at the age of 13, the girl was referred to a psychiatrist who determined that Abby had some mental and emotional problems. She was prescribed antidepressants, but Abby's life never improved. At 15, the girl began dating Bradley Lewis. Several years have passed. The guy graduated from school, took courses, and began working as a simple worker. He was a floor installer. Abby had never worked or even tried to find a permanent job. Instead, the girl began to earn a good income on the OnlyFans website. OnlyFans is a content subscription service that allows creators to share any images they want with fans who pay a subscription. Creators can use the service for a variety of purposes, but OnlyFans gets a bad rap. Models usually spend their time in its open spaces, attracting fans from all over the world only thanks to candid photographs. It's easy to guess what content Abby decided to choose. She called herself a fake Barbie and worked on the site under the name Mitzi Lewis. The girl actively posted her racy photos, and her army of fans grew rapidly. Her earnings also grew quickly. In the first year alone, Abby managed to earn £50,000. That's just over $60,000. But the success did not last long. By the start of her second year on OnlyFans, Abby's income had plummeted. More and more new models were registered on the site, competing with the fake Barbie. Soon, Abby lost about 75% of her subscribers, and her income in the second year was only £12,000 sterling. That's about $15,000. It is important to report that at that time, Bradley and Abby already had 4 children. Their names, gender, and ages are kept secret. All that is known is that Abby gave birth to 1 child from another man. Their family lived in a small house. Bradley worked hard to provide a good life for Abby and the children. Bradley's parents always helped the young family and took an active part in raising their grandchildren. Abby often posted photos of herself and Bradley. However, these happy pictures had nothing to do with real life. The relationship between Bradley and Abby has never been calm. It is known that the girl began to indulge in illegal substances and often appeared at home in a state of strong alcoholic intoxication. Abby herself denied serious addiction. The girl complained to family and friends that her boyfriend Bradley constantly controlled her and was very cruel to her. And according to her, he regularly cheated on her. Relatives knew that all this was not true. It was Abby who cheated on Bradley and even gave birth to a child with another man. She constantly lied to others and complained about her boyfriend. Friends said Bradley and Abby's relationship was toxic. The girl considered the guy her property. Friends have repeatedly warned Bradley that Abby is a complete psychopath and he needs to run away from her. Bradley's mom was offended by Abby because she believed that the girl was rude and cruel to her son. Mom believed that Bradley deserved better treatment. Quarrels and scandals in the couple led to social services intervening in family relationships. They forbade Abby to live with Bradley or get close to him. The guy moved to live with his parents. Abby couldn't trust Bradley anymore. She constantly called him, tried to control him, and forced him to return to their house to spend the night together. Bradley agreed and neglected precautions. At that time, Abby became active on social media. She filmed short videos for TikTok in which she presented herself as a real victim, an offended mother of many children who was betrayed by a man. Do not forget that the virtual world of social networks often misleads people. Abby also took advantage of this when she publicly humiliated Bradley, making him out to be a real monster. In early March 2022, the girl sent a voice message to her friend. Abby said, "I don't believe Bradley. He never tells me the truth. I have to take out a knife to knock the truth out of him, but he continues to lie. Bradley says I need psychological help, and people around us warn that one of us will eventually die. I believe that I am capable of killing. I could go to jail." On March 19, 2022, another major quarrel occurred between Bradley and Abby, during which the girl stabbed the guy directly in the arm. The wound turned out to be serious. Bradley was forced to immediately seek medical attention. When the doctor asked what happened, Bradley said he was injured at work. He didn't want Abby to get in trouble with the police, so he deliberately lied. After this unpleasant incident, Bradley decided that it was time for him to end his relationship with Abby, even though they had 3 children together. However, he continued to communicate with the girl and again did not listen to recommendations from social services. 6 days have passed. On Thursday, March 25th, at 8 p.m., a terrible scream was heard from the house where the White Lewis family lived. It was Abby. She begged for help and asked to call emergency services immediately. A neighbor heard the girl's screams. The woman rushed to help and learned from Abby that her partner Bradley was not breathing. After this, a neighbor entered the White Lewis house and saw a terrible picture. There were bloodstains everywhere in the hallway and living room. Bradley was in the kitchen. The guy was lying on his back, unconscious. A neighbor saw a bloody knife on the radiator. She got scared and urgently called the police. Then the neighbor's husband came running, who also witnessed this terrible scene. Abby was at home. Luckily, their children were visiting Bradley's parents at the time. When the police and ambulance arrived, doctors tried to help the victim. On the first floor of the house, there were bloodstains everywhere. Police found a t-shirt, a mop, and several other items with blood on them. Abby acted like she was really scared. The girl claimed that she had an argument with Bradley and he injured himself as a sign of protest. The officers didn't believe her, but still allowed her to go to the hospital with Bradley, who was unconscious. The guy was urgently sent for surgery, but the doctors were powerless. Bradley, 22, lost a lot of blood. At 1:30 a.m. on March 26th, he died. An autopsy revealed that the cause of death was a single stab wound to the chest. The knife went straight to the heart. When the parents learned of their son's death, their world collapsed. Now all that remained was to find out what really happened in the White Lewis house and who was to blame for the death of the young guy. Friends and relatives of the couple said that recently, the relationship between Bradley and Abby has been as tense as possible. A friend of the deceased said that Bradley recently confessed to him that he had a new girlfriend. Obviously, this would make Abby very angry. The police began to suspect her of murder. They arrested a 23-year-old girl and took her into custody. During the first interrogation, Abby said that she and Bradley had argued that evening. The guy threatened her that he would stab himself, so the girl grabbed the knife from him to throw him out into the street. She ran down the hallway toward the door, but Bradley caught up with her. According to Abby, He grabbed her wrist and plunged the knife directly into his chest. Investigators asked Abby many questions, but she refused to answer. The girl's version seemed too stupid to the police. No one still believed her. Abby spent 2 months behind bars and finally pleaded guilty to manslaughter. And this is what really happened on March 25th. Back on March 19th, after Abby seriously injured Bradley's arm, the guy decided that it was time for him to end his relationship with the girl. On March 25th, he asked her to meet in the park and announce the breakup. Abby got angry. At 5 p.m., Bradley and Abby, along with their friends Ryan and Louise, went to a local bar. An hour later, they moved to a nearby bar where they continued their relaxation. It is known that in the bar, Abby, secretly from everyone, used substances, and also did not at all monitor the amount of alcohol she drank and went too far with drinks. Abby was in a bad mood. She was rude to the employees and visitors of the establishment. At some point, Bradley and Ryan went to the toilet. There, Bradley began to cry and admitted to a friend that he wanted to get away from Abby. But he said that he was afraid because the girl threatened him that she would do something bad to herself. At that moment, when the guys were in the toilet, Abby was rude to one of the bar visitors and even slapped a stranger in the face. He hit the girl back and she fell to the floor. A friend helped her get up and quickly took Abby aside. By that time, Bradley and his friend had returned to their table. Abby grabbed the cocktail glass and threw the contents right in Bradley's face. She began to publicly humiliate him and accuse him of not wanting to stand up for her. Ryan asked Abby to calm down and shamed the girl. In response, she spat in her friend's face. At 7:50 p.m., Bradley and Abby got into the car with their old friend Alfie, whom they met in a bar. He took them home. Alfie said Bradley and Abby fought constantly during the trip. As soon as they arrived at the house, the girl immediately got out of the car and quickly walked into the house. Bradley spent a few minutes in the car and said goodbye to his friend. The last thing the guy said was the words, "I'll die when I get home." Alfie became worried. Everything that was happening seemed strange and frightening to him. He left Bradley his phone number so that he could call him if necessary. Friends said goodbye. Alfie left. Bradley entered the house. Abby met him there with a knife in her hands. The girl was furious and stabbed Bradley during an argument. Within 20 minutes, the neighbor called emergency services. While examining Bradley's cell phone, detectives learned that he had a ton of messages from Abby. Starting in the first months of 2022, the girl sent the guy hundreds of threatening messages. Several psychiatrists interviewed Abby before the trial. They admitted that the girl suffers from borderline personality disorder. She couldn't control her anger at all. She was emotionally unstable. It also became known that just a few days before the tragedy, Abby experienced severe stress. She had an induced abortion. At the same time, she learned from friends that Bradley was having an affair. Psychiatrists confirmed that Abby showed no signs of delusions, hallucinations, or other symptoms consistent with psychosis. At the trial, the girl again pleaded guilty to manslaughter. She accused Bradley of manipulating her feelings and constantly cheating on her with other women. The jury deliberated for 12 hours and returned with a unanimous decision. Abigail White, 23, was found guilty of murder. She was sentenced to life imprisonment with parole eligibility after 18 years. The girl will be able to be released only in 2040. Bradley's father shared that the loss of his son was the most difficult tragedy of his life. The man has never experienced so many experiences and so much pain inside. Bradley's mom admitted that part of her world had collapsed and this loss would be with her for the rest of her life. It is known that the parents of the deceased guy received custody of the White Lewis children. Bradley's funeral was attended by hundreds of concerned people who supported the Lewis family. His body was cremated in May 2022. And then the football club in which Bradley played held a friendly match and hundreds of people agreed to attend the event. The footballers supported the family of the deceased and donated part of the proceeds, about £7,000 sterling, to Lewis's parents. The rest of the money was transferred to a charity that provides psychological support to men. Bradley's former coach, who worked with him in his youth, admitted that the guy was truly kind and decent since childhood. He said this not because it is customary to say so, but because in the case of Bradley, it really was so. The coach spoke warmly not only of his student, but also of his parents, who were decent people with whom it was a pleasure to deal. As for Abby, the girl lost everything she had. Her loved one, family, children, home. She lost everything that many would give their lives for. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to the channel.